Hello YouTube, Papa D. Today we got another new video for you. It's going to be on the Trek Checkpoint 2020 ALR5. This will be a long-term review. I'm going to talk about how the bike held up, what I liked and disliked about the bike, who this bike might benefit. We're going to try to cover all these topics in this video. I've had this bike currently for a year. I have put 2,400 miles on the bike. In the beginning, we're looking at a little pavement in the beginning. This is my first gravel bike, so we're trying to learn about the roads here in town. So in the beginning, it was probably more pavement than gravel. Maybe the first 500 miles, 700 miles, let's say. But here lately, we've just done gravel. It's been like all gravel. And as an example, my last ride on the bike was 27 miles. 4,000 feet of climbing, in the Blue Ridge Mountains on the forestry roads and the gravel roads. And it had 1 mile of pavement. So this will be the experience that I'm speaking from today to give you an idea of how the bike worked out. First thing we can go over is the parts that I changed out and why. All right, first thing I changed was this saddle. This is just a personal preference. The saddle that came stock on the bike was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm accustomed to this particular saddle. It's an ALS Elite, and it's very comfortable, and the saddle is a very personal thing. So that's all it was to that, and this saddle has been great for me. The next thing I changed would have been the handlebar tape. That's another personal thing, but I experimented with a few different ones, and I settled on, I believe it's Lizard Skins 3.2 millimeter. I think it's 3.2 millimeters, the thicker one. That's some awesome tape. I've changed it a couple times, over the year. It's been great tape. Another preference is the pedals. I put on Time Attack pedals, which it's the first time I ran that particular pedal. I've been running Time for many years on my mountain bike. This particular pedal is the first time I've run it in the Time series, but awesome. Tough pedal. Never had one problem out of it. Excellent pedal. I also swapped out the tires. On this particular bike, I tried many different tires. I've got another video. You can check it out up here. I did on different gravel tires and how they worked for me. But I settled on the Gravel King SK, and I got a 38C on there. Running it tubeless, of course. Awesome tire. Fast, but this is what I like. Everybody's different, and it worked for me in all kinds of terrain. Single track, forestry roads, gravel roads, and pavement. So it did well in all situations, so I'm tickled. I'll keep running the tire and until I see something else that I might want to try. Also, the stock tire that came on the bike was nothing wrong with it. It was a good tire, and it was a tubeless tire, but it was just my preference to swap it out, try new things, because I was new to gravel, so I wanted to find something that worked, so I just kept trying things. And then, like I said, I settled on the Gravel King SK. Also, one last thing, which was huge, was the rear cassette. It comes straight from the factory with an 1134, I believe, rear cassette, and I changed it with an 1140. I also made a video on that. Fitting it up, what I had to do to make it work. I won't go into that now, but you can check that video link up here and get to that video. Excellent, worked great for me with all the climbing that I'm doing in my general area. It's very mountainous. That cassette worked out awesome. So that was another adjustment. Other than that, I believe everything was stock. I didn't change anything else. Okay, let's get into the components. How did they do? So let's start with the wheels. I ran it for the first month with the stock tires. Then I had another set of wheels that were a little bit lighter, aluminum, tubeless, ready, and I already had inserts in those wheels for the tubeless setup, so I just started using those. And then I used the stock wheels that came on, and I kept switching between these two sets of wheels using different tires. But it's a tubeless setup. It's a low-end wheel, but I mean, I rode it hard, never had a problem. No dings, no dents, never got out of true. So the stock rims, wheels did really well. The component, the Groupset. The Groupset is a Shimano 105, which, you know, realistically is a couple tiers up on a road bike. It's a road bike Groupset. I rode this thing, like I said, I rode it hard for a year, 2,400 miles. And the only thing I changed on that Groupset was that rear cassette. Plus I had to have a chain on it to lengthen it, so I put a new chain on it. But I mean, the entire Groupset, the shifters, the crank, everything is original. And everything, the derailleurs, front and rear derailleur, everything worked awesome. I mean, for a road Groupset to be bashed in the mountains, in the gravel dust, in the mountains, in the creeks, and everything that I've ridden it through, that's done awesome. One thing I would add was the rear derailleur was the only thing that ever gave me a problem, and that would be because it doesn't have a clutch. So some of these descents were pretty gnarly, fast, and the derailleur and the chain are bouncing all around. And a few times, not many, but 3 or 4 times, I guess, over a year, I lost the chain came off of the crank. So, you know, if you could get a clutch, it would be great. Do you have to have it? No, it'll work. But to be a 105 Groupset, it works great. Now, GRX, when I got this, GRX was just coming in to full strength. So hopefully the next ride, we'll see what happens, what kind of Groupset we get on that. I got a 2x crankset on here instead of a 1x, which for me, with that rear cassette 1150 tooth rear cassette, I was able to make it work because I have a 50, I think it's a 5036 compact crank. So it gives me plenty of range on my gears. And a 1x would kind of limit me because, you know, I'd have like a mountain bike cassette on there like I do now with the 2x, and it would just really take away from my top end speed. Well, a lot of our gravel roads are wide open, you know, long flat sections in some points. So I need the high end gears, or I want the high end gears. So the 2x for me and my preference is ideal. That way I can stay together with the group. I can stay with them. Hey, I can even ride this bike on a group ride on the road if I needed to, and I'm not going to have a problem keeping up because of my gear range. The brakes, like we said, it's the Groupset Shimano 105. I can't say that I've got a problem with the brakes. They just, I mean, I just burn them up because some of these incredibly long, I mean, you're talking about a 10-mile descent on a steep gravel road, and you know, they're just, I mean, you can smell them smoking when you get to the bottom. I never failed, never had a problem, and over the course of that 1 year, I only had to change the pads 1 time. So they held up good. I wouldn't be afraid to run 105 on a gravel bike again if it came to that. So we talk about the frame. Like I said, it's an aluminum frame. This is an ALR 5, which the difference in the ALR 5 and let's say the ALR 3 or the ALR 4 frame, well, one, it's a different bottom bracket, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You get a Pressfit bottom bracket. On the ALR 3 and the 4, you have a threaded bottom bracket. And I don't know why. But on mine, I got a Pressfit bottom bracket. I got the sliding lockout in the back, you know, where you can change the wheelbase of the bike, maybe 20 millimeters. I always kept it all the way in, so I had an aggressive, quick responsive bike similar to my road bike geometry or feel. So I never rode it with the slid back out to 20 millimeters. So I can't go into that. That would work for me. I feel like bike packing. That would come in really handy on bike packing. But you know, personally, I haven't done any bike packing. I'm trying to get geared up to do it, but I won't have this bike to try that out. The frame, I never had a problem with it. I can't tell you how many dings I had from rocks hitting it, big rocks, gravels, and I don't have any dings. I don't have any paint missing actually, because I put some of that tape, like helicopter tape, on the bike. I did the whole bike on the underneath in the areas that may get hit before I started riding it. So I tried to protect that. I mean, it just functioned really well, and I've used the bike. I'm not gonna lie to you, I've used it, and it did excellent. So the frame is great. I would suggest if you want one, you know, don't be afraid of it. All right, I think I covered most everything, I believe, and if I've missed something, I apologize. Use the comments below to ask the questions, but I'll go on to the positives and the negatives, the likes and dislikes. So let's do the dislikes first, get them out of the way. First dislike, I would say, which isn't a huge problem, is I would say the clutch. The rear derailleur doesn't have a clutch. It's a 105 road group set, so there's no clutch. So if I could run a clutch and have a clutch on the rear derailleur, that would be great. It's not a big deal, because honestly, in a year I only lost my chain probably 3 different times. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. But that's where I am on that. My next issue, I guess you could say, that bothered me is the cable routing coming out of the down tube that goes around your front stem. The way they have it manipulated there, the cables come out so far that if you're on an incline and you stand up to pedal, which, you know, I pedal aggressively when I'm climbing, so I'll stand up and climb. So my knees are coming up and down and they're hitting the cables back and forth, back and forth. So it's a personal kind of thing. It just aggravated me. And when you're tired and you're really digging to get up a hill and your knees coming up and it's hitting the cable and the cable's smacking back and forth, yeah, I believe they could have designed it a little bit better. So that's a little niggle, I guess you could say. And the last thing I would say is, you knew it was coming, the Pressfit bottom bracket. I have had good luck over the years with Pressfit bottom brackets. I haven't had many that have had a creaking problem that went on and on. This particular one, I did have a creaking problem. I pulled it out several times, clean it, put it back in, redo it, get rid of it, it comes right back. And it may be possibly because of the gravel dust. It's so fine, it gets in there, and it just creates problems. But I'm going to tell you what did away with it. Look at, if you have a Pressfit bottom bracket, most of them have the plastic cups and the plastic tube in there that's going with it, and then the bearings are inside of that. Look up Wheel Manufacturing, and they have their entry-level bottom bracket. It's aluminum. It's all aluminum, and it's a threaded aluminum Pressfit bottom bracket. Look at it. You know, just look it up. And that thing will thread in and press itself in. You press one side in with the press, the non-drive side. You press it in with your press, your cup press, and then the other side you thread it in, and then as it's threading itself in, it presses itself in, and now it's lined up inside the bike because it lines the cups up, so now everything's parallel from the threads. And it's all, you know, aluminum housing, aluminum tube going across it. Everything's aluminum with the bearings inside of it. Put that on there, never had a problem. It would be my go-to bottom bracket from now on Pressfit bottom brackets. I can promise you that. Lastly, maybe I could go over who would this bike benefit. Well, I didn't cover, but you know, you have to go back to the bike checks, the original bike checks, and the videos I put out on before. You have tons of options to mount racks, panniers, 3 bottle cages, fork mounts, fender mounts. You have the mounts all over the bike to do all this. I didn't have to use any of them for what I used it for. Like I said, I'm learning. I'm starting to get into some backpacking, but unfortunately I won't have this bike to try it on. But I do believe this bike would be great. You have unlimited options onto how to attach stuff with the bosses on it, with all of the mounting points. So who do I think this bike would benefit? Somebody that wanted a bike pack, slide back on the rear wheel, move the rear axle back 20 millimeters and have at it. I think it'd be an awesome bike. Somebody that wanted that's racy, slide that 20 millimeter slider on the rear wheel, slide it all the way up like I had it. Now you got you an aggressive bike. I just think it's a good all-around gravel bike. I think it's excellent for the money, for what you put into it, and the money that you had to pay to get it. I think the thing's smoking. So it's tough. My overall would be, would I buy another one? Heck yeah, I'd buy another one. That's where I'm coming in on that. All right, YouTube. So I will put in one more little thing. I have of course, if this is the last video on the Checkpoint gravel bike, does that mean I'm getting out of gravel? Heck no, I'm not getting out of gravel. I got another bike coming. We'll be having a new bike coming to the channel. I'm excited to make a video on that, so next 2 or 3 weeks, be looking for it. And we're going to be trying some new things, some new technology, and new to me, so I'll share it with you. You ask the questions, I'll give you the answers as I've been learning. All right? Sound good? And remember, like, subscribe, Leave your questions, suggestions in the comments below. Check out the videos, visit the channel, and keep an eye out for the new videos. So that's what I'll say. Thank y'all all. We'll catch you next time.